Right now is the perfect time to propagate lavender from cuttings, so here's how. In fact, now is the perfect time to take cuttings of all woody herbs like sage and rosemary and lavender because you're about to go into the summer prune, so you're going to have an excess of cuttings already there. We'll cover off pruning in another video, but for now, we're going to take the cutting. And what we're looking for in a candidate for a cutting is a nice, straight, healthy stem that doesn't have any flower buds. Now, we could take the tip of that stem. That would root very readily, but it would die very fast. So we're looking for something that is just started to harden off. So something like this looks good. Now we can see there are no flower buds on the end, and if we look down we can see the change in color moving from that green just going into that slightly woodier color. We don't want to go all the way down into last year's wood because that's not going to do anything, but we do want to have a look for something that's just starting to harden off. So about here would be perfect. So exactly in the place I just showed you, we're going to cut that off just there. Now you can bring on a lot of lavender in one pot. So again, we want to take a lot of these cuttings, not at the green new shoots, but just where it's starting to change color here and has had a little bit of time just to harden off. One of the things you want to carry around with you when you're taking cuttings is a plastic bag. This is just a sandwich bag, and we're going to put our cuttings in there. The reason for that is as soon as we take that cutting, it's going to start to die. And what this does is it's just going to keep the moisture in while we get it over to the potting station. I have my cuttings in the polythene bag, and I also have a pot set up with some normal potting compost, and I've added some additional grit as well because drainage is important at this point. Now, when preparing a cutting to be put in the potting mixture, the first thing we need to do is strip most of the leaves off, and you can do that just by running your fingers down the cutting. And we want to take off really the majority of the leaves, leaving maybe 2 or 3 leaves just at the very top. That'll probably be good enough. And in preparing the cutting, you can see where some of the leaves used to be. You can see there was a leaf node just here. We're going to take a knife and we're going to cut that straight across the leaf node, just there. With our cutting prepared, we now want to just simply place that in between the edge of the pot and the soil. The reason we put it there is because that increases the drainage, and then you repeat that around your pot. Now, Mediterranean herbs don't want to be too wet, so you want to spray this maybe once or twice a day. That's more than enough. You'll know if you're watering too much because these leaves, these tops of these tips will start to turn brown, and you want to pull back on your watering. You want to place this in a sheltered but sunny place, maybe in a cold frame, or maybe somewhere that gets sun in the morning but doesn't get it in the afternoon. If it is somewhere exposed, we can place our plastic bag over the top, and that will stop any additional water getting in, and it'll just make sure it stays nice and warm. Once these start to put out new leaves, you know that the cutting is rooted, and you can then start to pot on. Now, these cuttings aren't going to do a great deal over this winter. They're going to remain relatively dormant, but then next spring you're going to really start to see them come on. And that is how you take cuttings from Mediterranean herbs.